In just the past 8 months, federal authorities have issued several public warnings about foreign hackers penetrating the United States power grid and other critical infrastructure. Cybersecurity experts say the intent is to plant digital grenades in these systems until they decide to pull the pin.
Right now, we're tracking around 8 different teams that specifically target industrial networks.
Robert Lee spent 5 years working at the National Security Agency and Pentagon Cyber Command before forming his own company called Dragos. Lee and his crew protect industrial control systems by acting like detectives investigating a crime scene.
They're leaving breadcrumbs the entire way through, so they're giving us pieces to go and find those behaviors until they get to that impact.
Working from a warehouse in Hanover, Maryland, Dragos track foreign hacking groups in real time, then hunt them down to prevent damage to facilities that produce oil, gas, and other energy.
We've seen that these are not theoretical attacks. And my team was actually involved in the 2 different Ukraine attacks that happened, so the Ukraine 2015 and the Ukraine 2016. A national level adversary compromised portions of their power grid and did exactly that. We're able to turn off the lights in those regions.
Now Lee says these cyber enemies are going way beyond controlling just light switches.
But now we're starting to see really aggressive behavior on, well, I'm going to design a capability to kill people outside of conflict, outside of war, to target civilian life.
And an attack on the United States would create casualties on a massive scale. Research shows a cyber attack on the power grid killing electricity would potentially leave millions of Americans without food, clean water, access to money, health care, and more.
Frankly, the United States is under attack by entities that are using cyber to penetrate virtually every major action that takes place in the United States.
The Director of National Intelligence recently told Congress that cyber weapons exist in the hands of not only countries, but also terrorists and other activists.
While Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea pose the greatest cyber threats, other nation states, terrorist organizations, transnational criminal organizations, and ever more technically capable groups and individuals use cyber operations to achieve strategic and malign objectives.
This isn't a sideshow. You know, this is the way, the primary way our enemies would come after us in a future war. Cyber, physical sabotage, and nuclear EMP attack.
Dr. Peter Pry worked on the U.S. Commission assessing the threat of an electromagnetic EMP attack, which would wipe out electrical systems. As an example, he says a country like North Korea could target the United States by transporting a nuclear weapon over the South Polar region, then detonating it to create a high-altitude EMP. A congressional report shows such an attack could wipe out the power grid indefinitely. That could lead to the deaths of up to 90% of all Americans within a year. So how much would it cost to secure our power grid? In 2008, an EMP commission estimated it would cost around $2 billion. But former CIA Director James Woolsey says today's amount to strengthen the grid would likely be in the tens of billions. But Dr. Price says the D.C. bureaucracy and political influence prevent that from happening.
The electric power industry doesn't want to do it. They have vast lobbying resources on K Street. They own, basically, the U.S. Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which recently defied Secretary of Energy Perry in his effort to come up with a more secure grid. They actually defied the Secretary of Energy.
Another major issue, while larger utilities have beefed up cyber defense, smaller regional companies often overlook the need for such security.
Anywhere between 80 and 90% of the critical infrastructure in this country is held in private hands. And so, other than the regulators, there's no real control over doing the things that you need to do, the basic blocking and tackling of cyber hygiene and so forth.
Since our critical infrastructures depend on each other, Homeland Security holds exercises like Cyberstorm 6. It simulates various cyber attacks simultaneously on a variety of facilities, forcing federal, state, and local agencies to work with private companies to quickly find solutions.
The ability to exercise how we coordinate, how we collaborate, how we share information, because that is just as important, as we've seen in every real-life incident, as the actual technical means of identifying who's doing it and getting them off the computers.
Bottom line, enemies big and small want to plant cyber sleeper weapons within our infrastructure so they can eventually use them to destroy our way of life. The challenge will be ensuring a full team effort between both the U.S. government and private enterprise to fully protect us. Eric Rosales, CBN News, Washington.